Hey, what's up? Next episode is with Kalle Carranza. Kalle is a former professional surfer. Kalle is half Mexican, half Finnish, and he actually ended up in Finland after his career as a professional surfer. Why was that? Well, that's an interesting story, and you will know about it when you listen to this episode. Kalle has been on the cover of Surfer magazine, Surfer Journal, for example, and a couple of other magazines, and he's been all over the places at some point when he was on top of his career. What a nice guy. He's a genuine, real, honest person, and I really truly liked having a conversation with him. Kalle loves to learn new things. That's one of his drivers. His passion about life, learning new things. The other passion for him is saving our planet and oceans. Plastic seems to be destroying our oceans and our planet in a pretty fast pace, and this is something that is really deeply in Kalle's heart, to help people to understand what plastic is doing to the oceans and to our planet. Hope you liked this conversation as much as I did, because for me it was just an honor to have a real surfer on my show.
But I like the fact of calling it a lifestyle because you really want to catch the best conditions. Standing and flying on a flying carpet. You're moving with no effort forward over water. And something about it is unlike anything else. It's almost like life is a series of goals, and the guys that have the most fun, maybe, are the ones that are setting and reaching those goals. It was cool because people didn't know who I was, and I was just another person. And some people treat you like shit, and you're like,
What is plastic doing to the oceans and to our planet at the moment?
Fucking killing it. It's gonna be doing stuff to us and changing who we are. There's so much stuff that's going on that people don't really know of.
I am Tommy, and this is Surfer of Life. Today's guest is a surfer and an entrepreneur, Kalle Carranza. You are a former professional surfer and have been named one of the top 100 young surfers in the world by Surfer magazine. You have won a national title, traveled the world with sponsorship deals, and appeared on the covers of international surf magazines. Now you are a commentator for ISA and WSL contests, and you have your own company, I Love Waves, in Sayulita, Mexico, where you teach people to surf. Kalle,
Yep.
Welcome.
Thank you.
You are half Mexican and half Finnish. The weather here in Finland is quite cold at the moment, and the water is freezing. When was the last time you dipped yourself into freezing water?
I was not too long ago. I was in Finland last year, but I didn't surf there because I was there in August. But I did do a 3-day trip to Sweden, and I met up with a friend of mine by the name of Freddie Meadows, and he took me surfing, and the water was supposed to be really warm, but it was as cold as it gets, he says, in the winter. It was 5 degrees Celsius, but we found like an amazing wave. Like it was like an overhead barreling, really close to a slab reef wave, and I surfed for like 45 minutes because I had to wait for him to come in so he could lend me all his gear.
All right.
So that was cold water. Now I'm in Mexico and the water's warm.
Yeah. How do you cope with the cold water? How do you keep yourself warm?
Well, I suck at it. I'm skinny, so I need a good wetsuit, and I just need the thick ones. I just need a really good wetsuit. Thankfully, Patagonia makes some really nice warm ones, like super, super warm, that they say that you should only use them if you go surf like on ice. I use those suits if I can because I get really cold. I much rather be warm or too hot than too cold. When I get too cold, my feet and hands freeze and I get really stiff. And so, yeah.
What about the other surfers? Because people really do surf in cold environments. I just saw a documentary when people were surfing in Iceland. It looked freezing cold, but have you seen, do they have any certain methods how they keep themselves warm, or is it a matter of gear?
Well, it just depends. I think a lot of the guys that surf, if they can stay somewhere close to the wave, they put their wetsuit on before they leave the house. So they put everything on and they get really hot and then they drive or they run there and then they surf, come back, and then change indoors again. It's really bad when you have to change outside your car because that's when you're, after the surf, your hands, they don't even work. You can't even turn the car key to open the door. It's like everything just kind of goes through it. So I guess the guys that surf there often, they just get used to it and they have really good suits and they always drive a suit they never use a wetsuit before they go surf. Like the guys in Tofino, Canada, Iceland, Norway, Sweden, Finland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you? Does it change the feeling when you have to put the thick wetsuit on, or when you just use bare shorts? Does it change is it just matter of the waves and the feeling?
Yeah, it's totally. If you're surfing in a wetsuit, that's not too bad. But when you have to surf in a wetsuit and you have gloves, boots, hoodie, and the wetsuit's thick, that's when everything changes. You can't feel the water. It just feels like you're stiff. It's so much nicer to just surf in trunks. But it's really cool. Like if I don't mind surfing in even a good 4.3 in boots, as long as I don't have to wear gloves and a hood, because you can still feel the water, and then sometimes it feels better for airs because your board sticks to you with booties. But if I can surf in trunks, I much rather surf in trunks.
All right. You started very early. You were 6-year-old when you started surfing. Let's talk about surfing in general a bit. So, what about surfing? Is it a sport? Is it a lifestyle? Or is it both? A combination?
I think it's both. I think it's if you want to reach the elite level now, it's a full sport. Like you have to train, you have to eat well, you have to, know what's going on with your body and your equipment to make it to the elite. But then some people just surf for fun. They're weekend surfers, so they'll surf once a week, twice a week, and I mean, they live their own lives. But I like the fact of calling it a lifestyle because you really want to catch the best conditions. I think snowboarding is also a lifestyle. I think anything that demands you knowing the elements pretty much becomes a lifestyle. Or like, I think even rock climbing, like guys live in a van to, rock climb for weeks or months in Yosemite. And any of those sports where you actually have to take into account nature, they become a lifestyle because I don't want to it's hard to prioritize anything else when you love it so much. Like if the waves are pumping, it's so hard to go, no, I'm not going to surf. I'm going to go visit Matt and Jane for a dinner.
What about the surfer? You are one, and people who don't surf, they probably have a sort of an image about surfers that they laid back probably or something like that. Is there any way to describe a surfer?
I think surfers, they look, hold on, I'm going to open the window. It's too hot. I think surfers, yeah, I think we look very similar. We have the bleached hair and darker skin, and we wear specific kind of clothing. I don't know. You can see a surfer a mile away, I guess. I mean, obviously there are some surfers that, wear a suit and tie to go to work and then they surf on the weekends. But I'm talking about someone that actually, spends a lot of time surfing. You can tell them from a mile away. This type of clothing that you wear and what you look like.
So are you guys laid back, or does it just depend on the person?
I think it depends on the person, but I think in a way we are laid back because there's certain things that you learn without really noticing in regards to surfing or with surfing that make you kind of, in a way, laid back. We have to go out there and wait for a wave. It's not like a snowboarder goes up the mountain and if he's the first one and his powder, he's making it down that mountain. For us, we paddle out, and when the waves when it's crowded, or even when it's not crowded, you're waiting for a wave, and it might, sets come. They might come every 2 minutes. They might come every 30 minutes. And you're just out there waiting and chilling and waiting until the wave comes to you. So naturally, you learn to be just at ease with certain things. And we also sacrifice a lot to get good waves. I was just in a place in Mexico this week with my friend, my childhood friend Diego, and we were staying in a tent, sand in the tent, no hot water around, crappy toilet with no door, and it's like the food wasn't great, nothing about it. Like if you met a girl and you're like, hey, I'm going to take you to Mexico for a week to the beach, she would have hated the pump. We surfed for 4-5 hours every day, every morning until we dropped, and it was worth it. So we will sacrifice comfort and accommodation for good waves any day. No one wants to stay at a Ritz-Carlton and surf crap waves. They much rather stay in a shitty hammock and get...
Right. Yeah, I understand. What are the most important skills you need to have as a surfer?
If you're a beginner surfer, you have an advantage if you have strong shoulders and a strong back to paddle. If you're relatively flexible, only a little, like only enough. And if you played in the ocean when you were a kid. If you played in the ocean and you played in a shore break and you know what the wave is going to do and when it's going to break and how you should duck under it, and that's a big advantage. Usually, and that's the hardest thing in surfing is reading waves. So you should be able, if you have strong shoulders and you played in the beach in the ocean when you were a kid, you have a massive advantage over everyone else. Balance, everyone has it. Everyone that walks on 2 feet has that balance. So if you, or not even, like if you're, we always want to stay balanced as humans. Yeah, I don't have to, if I push you, you don't have to think, oh, put your right foot back so you don't fall. You're always trying to stay upright. Someone pushes you in a crowd, you regain your balance. Surfing's the same. You get pushed by a wave and you're going to naturally try and stay balanced.
How do you actually read the wave? Do you have, what kind of method do you use?
What?
For reading the wave and finding a good spot and knowing when to paddle and all this stuff involved that you said. It's the most important aspect.
That just comes with practice. If you've never, ever seen a wave in your life, you have no idea where that thing's going to break. But 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 500 and 10,000, you compare the next wave you see to everything else you've seen all your life. Because no two waves are the same, but you can kind of tell from experience. Like people that live in cold weather, they can go to, let's say, someone from Finland, like somewhere from like Lapland where they get powder. They can probably go to Whistler, to a mountain section of the mountain that they've never skied or snowboarded, and they can see where there's potential danger, where it's more fluffy, where it's a little bit more steep, where an avalanche could start. Like, and that's something that if you've never seen snow in your life, is impossible to know. How do you read where you should snowboard and what line you should draw? It just comes with time.
Let's talk about the feelings a little bit. That is there any way to describe the feeling when you are riding a wave? How does it feel?
Yeah, I think of course, I'm going to sound biased, but it is the most amazing feeling in the world. It is, it's like standing and flying on a flying carpet. You're moving with no effort forward over water. And something about it is unlike anything else you've ever experienced. Yeah. You can look, I've tried to do this because I teach people how to surf, and I've looked at what people write about learning to surf and what it feels like, and roughly everyone says the same thing. It's just like, it feels like flying, like a magic carpet, like it's kind of like skiing powder, but maybe better.
Yeah, it sounds really amazing, but it's not all just flying, it's hard work as well, right? How much did you have to practice, or did you really practice when you were a professional surfer?
Yeah, well, I practiced to get good. What is it? They say you have to do something for 10,000 hours to become an expert. And I personally think that surfing is the hardest sport, the most difficult sport in the world. I think people say skateboarding could be. I think skateboarding's difficult, but I think surfing's harder because everything changes, everything moves, the terrain changes, every single wave is different. You don't get to practice that same trick all the time because you might not get the sections to do that trick. So I used to surf a lot, all the time. Hours and hours and hours. Every single hour of the day that there was waves and I didn't have to go to school, I was surfing. And then once I started making money off it, sure, I surfed a lot. I surfed whenever the waves were good. I'd practice when the waves were small. I do it a lot until I got burnt out and I didn't enjoy it as much. But yeah, I did it a lot.
Yeah. Was there other practice involved than just surfing? Lifting weights, doing physical stuff, or does it all come together when you're surfing?
No, I think like it was different before because we used to have magazines and I used to focus on free surfing. So I didn't really have to go to the gym. I did do a little bit of stretching. I trained a little bit more when I had to surf some bigger waves. I would run and try and hold my breath when my heart was beating fast. But other than that, I didn't. But like I said, if you want to become one of the top 32 surfers in the world today, guaranteed you're putting in your gym time.
So you think it has changed after your career as a professional surfer?
Yeah, because when I was doing it for a living, there was a lot of guys that made the tour that were just talented. Like, I don't know, like Bruce Irons for someone. He was just ridiculous, really talented. But now, I feel like a guy named Mick Fanning kind of changed that whole thing. He trained hard. He went to the gym. He did a lot of physical work and mental work to become the best, and he smoked everyone one year. He just destroyed everyone. And that's when everyone was like, oh, we have more. Like, and I feel like it. That's why I think it's becoming a sport now. It's going to be in the Olympics. It's more like I like my favorite saying about surfing and all that stuff is that hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. And before that wasn't the case. Someone that was really talented could take someone out. And now it's almost possible to be world champion without doing shit.
It has happened in the different sports as well. Well, they became sports like, say, skateboarding is an Olympic sport nowadays, snowboarding. I think it happened in every one of those that somebody just showed up and started practicing really hard and became the best, and then it changed the whole setup.
Train really hard that have limited talent, and they're going to make it far just because of their will to work hard. But then there's going to be guys that are talented and work hard, and they're unstoppable.
Yeah.
Like if you think of soccer, like would Cristiano Ronaldo and Messi be where they are if they didn't train to drop? I don't think so. Be that good, you have to put in time.
Yeah. What about, you mentioned breathing? How important it is to be a good breather when you're a surfer? Because you actually have to hold your breath a lot. That's, you see, I'm not a surfer. I just have the name Surfer of Life here, but in my imagination, that you occasionally have to stay a long time under the surface.
The guys that surf big waves, yeah, for sure. Like if you're a beginner surfer, you shouldn't be surfing anything over shoulder high. All you need is a wave that's 6 inches high, a foot high, and you're surfing, and that's fine. And you won't be held down for long on a 1 foot wave. 1 second, 2 seconds. But guys that surf really big waves, they have to hold their breath for 20, 30, 40 seconds, and that's a long time when your heart is beating fast. And those guys train for those situations. So if you're a beginner surfer, you don't have to worry about it. You want to start surfing bigger waves, like a 4 foot wave, 6 foot wave, 8 foot wave, 10 foot wave, be held down for 5 seconds, maybe 8 seconds, and that's a long time.
How does it feel to be under the water when you're really exhausted already and the wave catches you and you're just, I don't know. Tell me about it.
I mean, if you're not used to it, it feels really scary. You see people that come down to the beach and get pushed by a 2 foot wave, and they're in knee deep water, and it looks like they're drowning. Because they're stressing. It feels like you have no control, and you want that control, but you just have to relax. It feels really scary. Like you have to learn to just, whatever it is you do. Some big wave surfers say that they put together all the items for like a grill party. There's a guy that says that he gets the coals and lights them and gets the chicken and cuts it and forgets that, he starts getting the whole party together, and then by the time he hasn't even finished when he gets pushed to the surface again. Some people count, some people relax their mind and don't think. Just, I guess.
All right. Interesting methods. Have you ever been scared?
Yeah, I was scared last week.
Right. What was the situation for that?
I just knew that the waves were going to be bigger that morning, and I woke up and I was scared. I was just like, oh, it's going to be big. Oh, I'm going to be scared. And it wasn't even that big. It was maybe, 12 foot faces or something. Double overhead. And big for a normal surfer, but for professional surfers nowadays, that's like nothing. A 6 foot, they call it a 6 foot back, 12 foot face. That's like, but I haven't surfed really big waves in a long time, so yeah, it's super scary. But then you get a really good one, and you're just like, give me more. You just light up. It's just like, oh, the adrenaline kicks in, and the feeling of being inside a big barrel is amazing. And you want more.
How do you overcome your fear before you go out there?
I don't. I'm not. I'm scared shitless when I'm paddling out there. I'm like trying to breathe slow and going, oh. And then once I get a good one or I get a really good wipeout, like I get held down for a long time, then it almost sometimes I don't feel scared anymore because I'm just like so adrenalized and so like, I want it. I don't know, like I guess some people don't get, I think everyone gets scared. Everyone has their limits. But I feel that you just push that limit a little farther every time. And you're scared of a 3-foot wave, you surf a 4-foot wave, and then you go back to a 3-foot wave, and it doesn't feel as scary. 5 to 4, 6 to 8, and then you just, before you know it, you're surfing 20-foot faces, and you do it every day, and it feels like you're surfing. And then you go to surf like a 10-foot face, and it feels like a walk in the park. It's so easy. You're like, I'm not even scared. And then you surf 10 years of small waves like I did, and then you surf a 6-foot wave, and you're like, oh, super scared again because you're not. It's unfamiliar. Unfamiliarity and the unknown scares us.
How often you go to a more dangerous spot like there, coral reefs underneath, stuff like this, rocks?
You know what? Rocks and coral reefs aren't scary. It's not. Like the wave I surfed last week was a sand bottom, and it's 50 times scarier than any little coral reef here. It just depends on the size of the waves. That's what's scary and how fast they break. Coral reef, the spot here in front of my house is a rock bottom with urchins. We surf it all the time. Nothing. Then there's another wave about 20 minutes away that only breaks 10 times a year, 5 times a year. And when that thing breaks, you know it's going to be big. It's a rock bottom as well, but you're not worried about the rock bottom. You're worried about being held under for a long time. And so many people think that sand is easier than rock, but there's certain waves that break over sand that break super fast. They just go, they suck up, and it's super hard to make the drop. It's like going down a double black diamond. And other times you surf a reef and it's as soft as the softest wave in the world. One of the easiest waves to learn to surf on is in Hawaii over reef. It's called Waikiki. It's just a soft wave that breaks forever, and it's a rock bottom. But yeah, I surf all sorts of waves. I surfed a wave that breaks over sand. I surfed a wave that broke over reef yesterday. But it's the size that's scary.
Okay. Can you fight against it, or do you just have to cope with the nature, be part of the nature to make you more safe?
You cannot fight a wave. You cannot. It's like, I don't know, it's like, can you fight an avalanche? I don't think so. You just,
No.
That happens. You just wait. But you can't be prepared for a wave. That's why I don't think people surf bigger waves when they're not supposed to be, because they're going to get scared. Yeah.
I think it's in every situation when you're dealing with the nature, with the strong elements of nature. Is it water, or is it mountain climbing, or is it, like you said, avalanche, or cold environment, or extreme hot environment, that if you start fighting against it, you're just done. Just really need to let go and be part of it. That's what I experienced. I'm more experienced in the cold environment and learned many lessons over there.
Sure, it's like, then again, I think cold environments sometimes make you want to let go. But let go while you're climbing Everest, you're going to die. You're going to freeze to death. So you have to fight it and keep going. Surfing, you have to, when a wave hits you, you have to just relax and let it do what it has to do with you until it lets go. But then once it's done, you have to fight to get to the top. You know, it's not like you're just gonna wait until you scratch for the surface.
Well, that's a good aspect. That you need to let go, but also at the right timing, you need to fight as well. Yeah. Let's talk about your career a bit. You started surfing when you were 6 years old. What actually took you out there at the beginning?
My parents lived like 2 blocks away from the beach, so that was the natural playground, and we used to go there and hang out. And I used to boogie board, and then I stood up on the boogie board when I was like 6. Then I started surfing when I was 9. These older kids were doing it. And I started doing it because when I stood up on the board for the first time, I was like, this is what I want. This feels amazing. I want to do more of this. This is like boogie boarding, but you stand. It's way more fun. And then I got hooked and I started doing it just all the time.
When did you realize that you can actually be very good at it?
We went with the guy that taught me how to surf. This guy named Tigre. Him and his brother Pato, we went to a national competition in Ensenada. They are older than me, so they were in the open, and I was in the junior, 18 and under. I remember we got there, and I was like, "Oh, these are Mexico's best surfers. We're better." And I won. Tigre made the final. Pato got to the semis. But everyone was blown away by them. And we were like, wow, our level's as good at least, if not better than a lot of the guys here. So that's what I kind of felt like, oh, like we could get really good at this. And yeah, and we did.
What kind of impact it had on you? You realized that, okay, this might be a profession maybe one day.
Yeah, I didn't know it was going to be a profession because no one here from where I come from ever did it, ever made money surfing. That was something that we didn't know could be done.
Okay.
And I did it first, I feel. Tigre was really good, but he could have been really good. He could have been pro, I think. He could have made money, but he didn't want to leave Sayulita. And so I started getting paid when I was like 18, 19. And then my friend Diego, he started getting paid a few years after me. And he still makes it. He still does it, I think, for a living. Partially. So, yeah.
Tell me about moving to Puerto Escondido. How did that change the game?
I didn't know how I was going to be able to be sponsored and make money. They started paying me because there was a Mexican company that was trying to get into surfing, but I never really had surfed bigger waves. My really good friend, David Rutherford, he invited me to go to Hawaii with him. I got a taste for bigger waves, and then he lives in Puerto, so I went to stay with him, and he taught me how to surf bigger waves. And I never really moved to Puerto Escondido full time. I would spend 2 to 4 months there a year, and I would surf with him, and he taught me basically how to surf bigger waves. And the first year I went, he introduced me to a photographer that was really good named Scott Eichner. And I got a photo that my first photo ever with him that was published everywhere. It was the cover of Waves magazine in Australia. It was a 2-page spread in Surfer. It was a 2-page spread in Surfer's Journal. It was a 2-page spread in Japan. in Europe, like it was everywhere. And that was the photo that put me on the map, that made me start getting more sponsors. So after that, I realized, crap, I really have to continue doing this. There was no one from my area that was really, really good at small waves to where they could make the tour. Maybe we were pretty good, but you needed a lot of money to be on tour. But to go to Puerto Rico and stay there and get photos, you didn't really need much. So we would do that. Go to Puerto, stay there, get more waves because we're Mexican. The local boys would get the best waves, and then we would get like second dibs because we were Mexican and not foreigner. And if you go to Hawaii, you're like the last person in line to catch a wave. So it was impossible. I didn't even go to Hawaii. I didn't want to. I was like, why even try and fight to catch waves there when I can catch them here at home? So that kind of showed us that, okay, or showed me, if I want to make it, I need to be in Puerto Escondido at least 2 to 4 months a year. And I didn't really live there and move there because I wanted to travel. So I would travel the rest of the year.
What about after that? You were on a cover and it exploded the whole situation. You got sponsored. You were up there, out there on the map. Did you start setting any goals after that?
My goal was always to get photos in magazines, and a distant goal was to get the cover of Surfer. That was like almost an impossible, unattainable goal. And it happened in 2004. And it was a huge thing for me. It was just... And then I lost a little bit of motivation because I was just going with the flow. I didn't have any goals. And then I decided that I wanted to win a big event, which was my other bigger goal. My friend Diego had already won one. A series of contests that are held between Mexico and Argentina, Latin America. And I won in Chile. I want to say it was 2007. And after that, I was like, I have no more goals. I have no more goals. This isn't fulfilling anymore. So I quit pro surfing and I moved to Finland.
Right. So setting goals seems to be important to you, that you have something that you're aiming to.
Yeah, I almost think it boils down to purpose. Like we should all have a goal or a set of goals that we have. Because if we don't, it almost feels like it's stagnant. We're just like, I guess we'll just do whatever. Like if you need to be like, I want to make this much money, or I want to buy a house like this, or I want to be the best at this sport, or I want to visit Nepal, or whatever your goal is, that, it's almost like life is a series of goals. And the guys that have the most fun, maybe, are the ones that are setting and reaching those goals.
How did people react when you quit your career? Was it a surprise for the others?
Yeah, people thought I was crazy. My friend Diego just posted something on Instagram that he mentioned that when I quit, all my friends were like, "Are you crazy?" I had another year and a half or 2 years left in my contract. And I remember talking to a few people. They're like, "Oh, you're crazy. You're just going to come right back. You're just going to..." And I didn't. And short afterwards, there was a big 2008 recession everywhere. Quicksilver and a bunch of companies fired a lot of guys. A lot of my friends lost their jobs. Like, it was just like almost perfect timing to quit. I wasn't fulfilled by it anymore. But people didn't understand. But
how important it is to follow your heart or intuition?
I think intuition is something that's like, too bad they don't teach us in school or life enough about it. You can tell, when when you should do something. It may not be the easiest thing to do, but you know when you're supposed to do something. And if we just kind of relearn how to do that, I think we'd be all better off.
So your intuition took you to Finland. Tell me about that.
I think at that time I spoke French better than Finnish. But I was like, I just want to change. I want a change, like the change. So I went from hot weather and beaches to cold and cloudy, dark. And I started studying at university. And I worked for a year as a barimikko, like a bartender, but I first was like a one that would pick up glasses at discotheques. And I was making like half or less than half of what I made. Way less. Like I was just, and it was cool because people didn't know who I was, and I was just another person. And some people treat you like shit, and you're like, And other people are really nice, and you can see who's genuine and who isn't. And it was a really good year to realize that, wow, surfers and athletes have it good.
So you studied in Finland. What did you study in Finland?
I studied, after a year of working there, I studied basically like marketing and business administration. And I liked it. It was fun.
What about learning itself? Do you like learning new things?
I love it. Learning's the best. I love learning new stuff. It's the best to be a kook at something. Like I just learned how to foil this year. That was tough. I'm learning how to carve things out of wood. That's fun. Like all these things that I'm bad at that I learned how to do are really, the process of learning is fun. Once you know how to do it, it's not as fun. It's way more fun to learn to do it. So I think learning to surf is more fun than actually knowing how to surf. Obviously, when you get the right conditions, sure, it's epic. But
what is your message to people who think that they cannot learn new things? They're too old, or they are in too crappy condition, or whatever. Can we always learn?
Yeah, 100%. I just don't know the words to get them motivated to do it. But like I think it was Einstein who said, the day you stop learning is the day you start dying. And I think that's why it's really bad for people to go into retirement. Because you can see almost people age when they stop doing stuff. They just sit home and they just watch TV or read books. And you're like, sure, if you're stressed out and you needed that, go for it. But learn new stuff, do things, be active. Because if not, it's like you're just waiting for the clock to run out. Why even do that? Why even like wait for the clock to run out? Just stop there. I'm not saying that people should commit suicide or anything, but I just like realize that there's so much out there that is really fun to do and see, and it's cool to, I don't know, there's so many things that be rad to learn to do. I'd love to know how to make a knife, like actually like pound metal and make it into a beautiful knife, or I don't know. I still haven't jumped off a plane with a parachute. That'd be fun.
Yeah, so many things to do. All right. But you didn't totally quit surfing. You quit as a professional surfer. Did you realize something else about surfing while you were in Finland?
Yeah, I wasn't enjoying it anymore because I didn't have any goals, and I wasn't doing it for the fun of it. I was doing it for the work. Like Every time I paddle out, it was about photos or videos or putting the stickers on the board, and I just wasn't happy with it. But now, like, there is no better place than being in a barrel. It sounds so cliche, but there's no better place for me than being in a barrel or paddling over a wave that your best friend is getting barreled on. And it's just so satisfying to surf when, you know, the waves are fun. It's just, I think that's what I mean. Like, everyone has a purpose. Everyone has a thing that they probably love to do. Sad that a lot of people haven't found it yet, but it's out there. And then when they find it, it's a passion. That's what it is. It's you're just passionate about something, and everything stops. Time stops. You forget about everything. You're just there, living it. That's, I think, what people should strive for.
So you're saying that if you're passionate to something, that maybe occasionally if it starts to feel more as a job, well, it was a job for you, but then you just maybe quit or move to another environment to find it back again.
Yeah, maybe for me it was that, but that doesn't necessarily have to be that for everyone. You can find ways and tweak it and work at it in a way that you find the joy in it again, or try and remember why it is you started in the first place. Because I think people that are good at stuff is because they love it, not because they want to love it.
So after Finland, you went to Sayulita, am I correct?
Yeah.
What is your connection? How rooted are you to Sayulita?
I pretty much grew up here. I used to go to school, and then from school come to Sayulita. I'd hang out here with my friend Tigre and Diego, Regis, and all these guys, and I just pretty much learned to surf, and I spent all my teenage years here. Like, I pretty much grew up in this town and saw this town grow. There was nothing here. There was 2 restaurants, 1 hotel, just a bunch of fishermen, almost no cars, dirt roads, and now it's become the jewel of the Riviera Nayarit almost. It's packed with tourists and cars everywhere, hard to find parking. It's just changed so much, but it's still beautiful. That's why.
Now you're running a business. Tell me about your business. What all the stuff you do there?
I did a lot of stuff for a lot of years. I surf treats and amps and the shop. Now I do very little at the surf shop. I only help very little, like maybe for new designs of shirts or hire the right people to get certain going. I help with surf lessons when the guys need help. But I basically teach people to surf that really want to learn to surf through I Love Waves and word of mouth. We'll just recommend, and I'll teach people. I don't teach kids anymore. I teach adults, and I teach adults that really want to learn how to surf. I also help run a few Airbnbs, and I'm abroad as a commentator for surf events.
Yeah.
So, but this year I promised myself to give myself more time. This year and last year. So I'm not taking on as many projects. I'm not taking on all the events I have to do. I'm doing 5 events, I think. 5 events in Spanish, WSL. But then some QSs and maybe a couple big wave events, hopefully. And then another 4 events for the ISA. So 10 to 14 events, maybe not. Less than 15 events would be good for me. If not, I would. If I took all the stuff on, I wouldn't be home that much. And now I want to learn how to be home more and enjoy being home. I'm learning to spearfish, which is fun.
Learning new things.
more new things. My friend Diego's the worst teacher, but he's really spearfishing. So I want to learn how to spearfish a bit better. Putting it out in the universe that I want to find the girl of my dreams. So that's out there too. Yeah.
Nice. A little bit about teaching people to surf. You said you pick people who really want to surf, so they give it the best they got. Can we all learn to surf?
Yeah. 100%.
What are the most important things when you are a beginner to know?
Just get a good instructor and a good board, and just get a good instructor, period. She will give you the right equipment, put you out in the right waves, and teach you the right way. If you really want to learn to surf, that's the way you should do it. There's no shortcuts in surfing, but with an instructor, you learn way faster than any other sport because it really makes a massive difference. Like, you need to learn the fundamentals before you go out and like practice on your own.
Yeah. I know that because we tried surfing in Norway when it was 6 Celsius. We were snowboarding in Norway, like let's say 10 years ago, and somebody took us to a very small waves, but there was no teacher. And well, you know the story then. How it goes doesn't go that well. Tell me about the surf etiquette. How important is that?
Very. It's like, it's like common sense and respect for other people. But someone needs to explain to you what the etiquette is in the water. It's hard to just expect to know what to do out there. So it's really to have someone explain to you the right rules and who has the right of way and when you can go, and like everything.
Right. One thing I want to mention about, I saw an Instagram post from you that you were collecting the plastic bottles from the beach. What is plastic doing to the oceans and to our planet at the moment?
Fucking killing it. It's worst. It's so bad. It's sad because I guess people that live in cities and aren't by the ocean don't really see it as much. When I was a kid, I used to pick up little bright pieces of glass that were sanded away by the sand of the beaches. They were green and blue and brown and transparent white. Now, I saw one the other day for the first time in I don't know how long, but everything else I saw, other than what should be there, which is sticks and sand and rock, was plastic. Whether it be plastic bags, bits of plastic, hard plastic, small plastic, micro, there's so much of it, and it's such a big problem because sure, bigger stuff gets stuck in animals' bellies, like plastic bags in turtles' stomachs, bottle caps in birds' stomachs, but the little tiny stuff that breaks down, little fish eat that, then the bigger fish eat that, the big fish eat the smaller fish, and then we eat the bigger fish, and it's going to be doing stuff to us and changing who we are. There's so much stuff that's going on that people don't really know of. That is super sad. It just bums you out because I think there's so many people in this world, and as long as the governments keep allowing people,
Oh, I'm losing you a bit. Your picture is frozen now. But anyways, I do hope that people understand how big of an issue is plastic in the world and how much it is destroying our nature. I do really hope that people start understanding, and especially the governments. It's been so great to have you here. Thank you, Kalle, for taking part of this Surfer of Life podcast. And thank you so much for telling me about the real surfing. I'm so happy to hear about that. I have a couple of more questions still I'd like to ask. If you would have superpowers, how would you change the world?
If I had superpowers,
That's a tough question. I would convince governments to stop using plastic. I would clean all the plastic from the oceans and erase all plastic from the bellies of animals. That'd be a good superpower.
That really sounds like an awesome superpower, and I hope you will get it. Hope you will get that superpower. What makes you feel down? And on the contrary, what makes you feel happy?
Feeling alone and just sometimes feeling alone, not having someone to share my life with makes me feel down. What makes me happy? A good surf trip makes me very happy.
Thank you, Kalle. I hope you will find somebody that you can share this amazing ride with you. Thank you so much.